Hi everybody, my name is Keira Gillett and I am the author of the Zaria Fierce Series. I'm here with you today to answer a video fan mail that I got with some questions about the series. The first question is, how far does the Stargazer go? So, to answer this question, there's actually two Stargazers I have to talk about. There's the normal kind, and then there's Alex's kind. And the normal kind doesn't go very far. It is exactly like Abel Mickelson said to her grandson Alex when she first passed it off to him, which is you can use it in your bedroom, you can use it in your house, small contained space. It works in. That's my little foxy baby right there. He's also right there. Anyway, so yeah, so the first Stargazer is all about normal use. So normal use is, if you're doing homework or, uh, more important things like playing video games or reading books, in my case, because that's what I would have used it for growing up. It helps to extend your weekends and a period of time just by being able to stay in one space or one contained area. Now, Alex's is a unique case. And Ava didn't know that it was a unique case when she gave it to him, or she might have told him something different. So the Stargazer that Alex and his friends use is much more powerful, and it goes well beyond the space of a bedroom or the space of a house. It goes beyond a street and out as far as the city of Frederickstad. The further away they get from Frederickstad, the more normal the time stream is, because animals and people and everybody else can move around. And so I hope that helps explain how the Stargazer works and how far it can go. It's kind of like a bubble, and it just kind of expands, and then you slip out of it. And then when you turn it off, then it goes and collapses. So, all right, next question, which is also about the Stargazer, is if you were jogging and the Stargazer switched on, would you slow down or stop? Okay, so as we can see from the books, there are cases where people have totally stopped, right? So if you were jogging and you were in midair, you would probably be frozen in midair because water was frozen in midair. And I don't mean frozen like, like little icicles hanging around. I'm talking like water droplets from like a sprinkler, which is, and they just kind of paused. Now, if you looked at it at a microscopic level, at least this is how I've envisioned it, is that the water is still moving, and you, if you were jogging, are still moving. But your perception is different, and so is it of the people who have activated the Stargazer. Because they've activated it, everything around them is slowed down or at a dead stop. But for you who has been on the opposite side of it, and you're still going, but you're going at a rate that Alex and his friends can't see. So when the Stargazer turns back on, all of a sudden, the kids, they're back in the normal time stream, and they see people where people are supposed to be, and everybody's moving again. And that kind of explains at the end of book 1 where they overhear this couple kind of bickering back and forth going, oh yeah, where'd all that time go? Well, that's kind of how I explained all those events that you kind of run into in your life where like something really fun is going on and you look at the clock and where did the time go? It's like you've only been at it for like 5 minutes. 5 more minutes, Mom. 5 more minutes. And then you're at school and you're just like, oh man, I am so ready for recess, or oh man, I'm so ready for the end of the day, or summer break. Why is this last hour going on like 5 hours? So that's kind of how the Stargazer works. Okay. Next question. In book 3, the Last Sorcerer with mind magic was killed at age 12. How did the magic carry on? Alright, so the way magic works for sorceresses in the series is that they can be one of 3. And it's not carried on necessarily if you have mind magic, your daughter gets mind magic. It's more of you have mind magic and your daughter has the chance to have mind magic, or she has the ability to do hand and motion magic, kinetic magic, or she has the ability to do spoken magic. And so as long as somebody magical and is a sorceress is still around, eventually mind magic will come back around. It's just much more rare because it involves really understanding magic on a new level because you don't have these crutches, you know. So let's see. Why can the Fae only have 2 children? Okay, so this is from the 4th book in the series, which is Alex Michelson and the Twice Lost Fairy-Well. And Alex himself is a changeling, and the reason he's a changeling is because the Fae have a political system that has limited the size of families down to 2 kids or 2 children. And they cannot exceed that. If they do, then the rulers of each of the 4 courts will choose which kid is made a changeling and or killed. And so it's much better for parents to make that choice. And generally speaking, it is the youngest kid, which is Alex. And Alex himself is quite okay with this because he doesn't really like the Fae very much whatsoever. He doesn't bond with them. He doesn't understand them. He would much rather be normal. He is so ready to be normal. In fact, if he's home in his own house with his human family on his 16th birthday, he will get his wish. He will become human. And that's what he wants most dearly. Do any other Fae have Nori's gift of truth? So, yes and no. So, yes, somebody down the road could have Nori's gift of truth, but no, nobody else has it right now because she was the only one to remember Fritjof, who is the Dragon of Chaos. And that's really how the story all begins for Alex Michelson and the Twice Lost Fairy-Well, because she is aware of what's going on and how it is similar to what has happened before when Fritjof made a push to invade Niflheim and take it over. And let's see. Another way to compare it is, you know, the giants from book 2, when they're described how they all have these fantastic names like Oscar the Elevated, which, by the way, is what he's named after. And, you know, you have like Rajupa the Bountiful and Petronella the Measureless, and you have all these rulers, right? And all these giants, and they've got these big outlandish names, but they have this book. And it's got all these complicated equations in it, and a name is only released back to the book for someone else to take when the other giant who owned it has transformed. So I would kind of liken the Fae magic to be the same. They won't have the same gift, but they could have similar gifts. So, you know, Nori always knows the truth. Perhaps there's a Fae that knows when someone is lying to them. It's similar, but not the same. Let's see. Next question. What was traded for Alex's Stargazer? It is pretty powerful. Yes, it's pretty powerful. At this moment, that has not, it's not going to bear any weight on the story, how the Stargazer came to be in his family or in his grandmother's possession. But you could say it was probably given to her by the Witch of the Woods. And what was traded for it? Well, that's between her and the witch. Will the twin dragons of war or any other dragon not from the original 3 brothers be in another book? Good question. I am going to leave that for future books to say. What are the twin dragon of war's names? So they are listed at the back of book 3, and you can find them there. What are all the types of sorceresses? We have word, hand, gestures, thought, and sight. Okay, so the way magic works for almost all species, including sorceresses in the book, is that they need to be able to see what they're doing. So that's why I think you thought sight was a particular item for a type of magic. So you do have word, spoken word. That is a type of magic. You have hand gestures. I like to use hand gestures. That's probably where I'd end up with. And then you have mind magic, which is the thought magic. And so I would say three. There are three types of sorceresses. Who was the fish lady in the water when they went to rescue Hart? So the fish lady is actually a creepy mermaid. So she is part angular fish and she's part mermaid. And the reason she's part angular fish is because if you are where she lives, which is in a flooded palace for dwarves, which is underneath the earth, there's not a lot of light down there. And so Christopher kind of like got in the weeds with her. You know, he was swimming along, doing his thing, and his sword must have caught her light. And so, no, sorry. So he was swimming along and she felt the vibrations and turned on her light, which is the moon thing he thought he was looking at. And it was kind of like hypnotizing him to an extent. And so he was swimming towards it, not really knowing that he was going towards danger, because my creepy mermaids are not going to be ones you can talk to or bargain with. They're definitely more instinctual. So if she had gotten her hands on him, he would have had a bite taken out of him for sure. Why are all of the male Elefoken named Hart? Excellent question. So there are three males in the species at any time. You have the Golden King, who is the reigning ruler of the Elefoken. So he is a tree and is part of a grove of trees of previous kings. And so he's consulted first on all matters regarding the race. And then you have the Stag Lord, who is humanoid, and he runs around all over Norway, and he can do whatever he wants. And so he's kind of like the figurehead of the species. And then you have Hart, which is what they name all of their sons originally, because all of their sons are stags. And they stay in elk form until their fathers change. And so the Stag Lord is pretty much the key for who is Hart and who is Stag Lord and who is a Golden King. And some of the Stag Lords really do not want to change, because when they do, you're a tree and you're stuck in a grove and you don't get to explore and have adventures anymore. But adventures are always different. You know, it just depends. And yeah, so once the Hearts transform and they're now the Stag Lord, they get to choose their name. And that's why they all start off as Hart and then they choose their name. So that's how Hart becomes Henrik, and the Hart before him became Hector, who is Henrik's father and the Stag Lord that we all meet in book one, and so on and so forth. How are the female Elefoken born? Okay, so the males of the species are able to have daughters, and the females, if you know they're not the mate of the Stag Lord, go off and intermingle with elves and fae, and that's how they have more daughters. Why do the Stag Lords have to turn into trees? So the Stag Lords turn into trees because the Elefoken are actually a Norwegian folklore creature, where I came across them and all I saw was mention of females, and I was like, well, I have to come up with a reason why you don't see any men, so that's why we have three males. And the females would entice men into the forest and they would turn into trees. And so that's why the trees are part of the myth. And then the elk is my addition to it. And I think that wraps up all the questions. I hope everybody had a fun time with me today, and if you also have questions, feel free to submit them either by email, or you can leave a comment on my website, or you can do as my fabulous fan and friend Nathan did and send me a video mail, and I will respond back. Have a good one, everybody, and have a great weekend.